Hi, good morning. I'm Umesh Mehta and is Jimeet Modi. We are going to discuss what's a trade this week post-election outcome. So election is the biggest hype event in media, and entire India is watching what's the outcome and what will be the impact on stock market. So over to Jimeet. So Jimeet, what has been the past trend of election and impact on stock market?
So, I think to begin with, what people are very excited to know is that next week is going to be the outcome of the Indian Game of Thrones. So, effectively, who sits on the Prime Minister's throne in India. And there are three currently possible outcomes. Is that one is Mr. Modi, who has been the Prime Minister for the past 5 years, continues to sit and become the PM and becomes the PM. The second is Rahul Gandhi, who is the face of the Prime Minister face for the Congress, sits on the throne. And the third is actually the Night King reference. You know, if the federal third front, if there is any, becomes united and sits on the throne, then I think we are in for a nightmare. So before we sort of predict as to what's going to happen in the next week, what we'd like to throw a little bit of light on is what has happened in the past. So in the past 21 years, there have been 5 major elections. So right from the February 1998 election, which was the first election that Mr. Vajpayee contested, till May 2014. Now, if you look at the outcomes of each of these elections, there is one underlying thesis that gets formed, which is that the trend prior to the election, irrespective of the election outcome, is most likely to continue subsequent to the election. And the elections are not going to have a major impact whatsoever on the short-term trend of the markets. To put it into perspective, so Feb 1998, we were in a corrective trend. There was a long consolidation that was going on in the market at the time as we approached towards the election, and even post the election outcome, even though BJP was the single largest party and formed a government with their allies, the corrective trend continued. October 1999, after the BJP government formed in 1998 fell, there was a pre-budget rally, but in general still we were in a longer term consolidation phase from 1996 to 2001. So even though Mr. Vajpayee actually formed a wonderful NDA government in 1999, the time of forming the government actually ended up being in a consolidation phase and didn't matter in the next 6 to 12 months. May 2004, everybody expected Mr. Vajpayee to come back. India Shining was the theme, and Mr. Vajpayee didn't come back. There was a knee-jerk reaction. The markets had a lower circuit on the day the result was announced, but it took less than 4 months for the Nifty to resume its uptrend. We were in the mother of all bull markets starting from 2003, and irrespective of Mr. Vajpayee or the UPA government coming in, the market continued its bull run. And May 2009, so in March 2009, Lehman Brothers went bankrupt. The bottom of the global financial crisis was formed. 31st March was probably the bottom, and the market had already started reversing in April. The bear market was over, the trend was now up. What happened with the UPA coming in with a reasonable majority is that the trend only accelerated. It did not break the trend. So the uptrend which began in April 2009 continued for years, for the next couple of years till 2010 or so. And May 2014, there were multiple tops that got created from 2008, 2011, as far as the Nifty is concerned. And after August 2013, the markets bottomed out, made a good pre-election rally in 2014, broke out in 2014, which was a very long breakout after a very, very long period of time. And this breakout actually happened even before the outcome of the election was announced. In fact, in several spaces in the mid caps and the small caps, this breakout happened far before the election outcome was even announced. So the thesis is that whatever has happened before the election will continue to happen after the election, and the underlying trend will continue. So what's the underlying trend today? The underlying trend today, at least on the large cap space, is that 11,800 has become a very serious resistance. markets are looking expensive. 11,800 at currently is a double top in place, which has been formed over the past couple of years. The markets currently have been finding it tough to go above this 11,800 levels, and at 11,200 we are at 5% from all-time highs. So clearly the margin of safety currently in the markets is low, which leads us to the conclusion that from a large cap point of view, we are in a corrective trend, and this corrective trend can continue for a reasonably long period of time. So you could have it for 2 months, 3 months. So the conclusion being that irrespective of whichever government comes, because the underlying trend is that of correction and consolidation, even post the election, that is likely to continue. Now, how is the election outcome most likely to affect this? Is if the BJP government comes, maybe you may get a short pullback rally to 11,600, 11,700, and which could actually be used as an opportunity for traders to book profits and move out. But eventually the market will continue to correct both by way of time and by way of price as well. If the UPA government comes in, or if there is a third front which has even a remote chance of coming in, then markets will have an accelerated fall and an accelerated price correction. But the correction, which is the current trend in play, will be most likely to continue. So it's going to be a range as far as the NIFTY is concerned. I think 10,500 to 11,800 is likely to be the range for the next 6 to 12 months. There are increasing chances of 10,500 coming in, irrespective of whichever government comes in, or if not, there are markets staying at the current levels for a reasonably long period of time. But the underlying thesis that we are in a correction, and the correction will continue as far as large caps is concerned, is going to play out. I think mid caps and small caps, there is a different story that's going on, and then we probably leave it to you to throw some light on what's happening on mid caps and small caps.
So there are two different markets in Indian stock market that is going on. So one is the entire large cap and large cap space, and another small and mid cap space. So the small and mid cap space is in bear market since last 1.5 years, and statistically, historically, we have seen that this correction can last a little longer, maybe around 2.5 years. So as Jimeet bhai said, that there is every likelihood that if large caps correct, they haven't corrected, so they also have room to correct from a larger time correction point of view, and small caps will correct from a time correction point of view. So price wise, I think small and mid cap have really corrected harder, so there could be a little bit more room, but on an average, I think prices will be around at this level. But large caps, yes, there is still room for both price correction and time correction.
So I think to add to this point, and what's going to happen on Monday, and how should somebody play this trade, this exit poll which is going to get announced on Sunday. How is going to, because I think Friday is the only day that you can actually position yourself for the Monday exit polls. I think if you are a market analyst, the best way to do it, to play this trade, is to stay out of it and not predict who's going to win.
Yeah.
If you believe that you are a political analyst and if you have a view on a particular party getting X number of seats or Y number of seats, I think then the best way of playing this trade is buying call options if you believe that the BJP is going to win, or directly buying the futures, or buying index put options if you believe that the Congress or the United Front, any one of them are actually likely to form a government. Then buy the put options or sort the futures. I don't think there is any other play. There is no other strategy that you can create, either by way of a bull spread or a bear spread, in order to try and play this on Monday, simply because the implied volatility of the options is so high that it is going to be counterproductive to enter into any specific strategy. So I think this is actually going to be a 50-50 gamble. If you are a prudent trader, you should not make a trade going into Friday. You should actually wait for the outcome to be announced on Thursday and then take a directional call on how you want to play this trade. But if you are a compulsive trader and you think that you can actually accurately predict how the polls are going to go, then maybe you could take a call that buy a call if you believe the BJP is going to win, buy a put if the Congress is going to win. That's going to be how you're going to play as from an index level point of view, if that's going to concern. But so let's ask, so if the election are going to be of not much impact, what is really going to result into a reversal of this trend? And what could possibly lead to the culmination or the end of this correction and resumption of a new bull market?
Correct. So as now election is almost so largely if you see that it gets discounted. So that is how markets had moved up, and now market has started to correct based on other global and international factors. But now truly we have seen also that budgets are an important event that really change the direction of the market, and that's going to happen 1.5 2 months down the line. So till that time, as your assessment is right, market will oscillate on 11,800 at a higher level and 10,500, or maybe worst scenario 10,000 levels on the lower side. After that, once the budget around that time, there is every likelihood that market can really reverse from those dates.
Yeah, I think what is important to note is that why we are saying that the budget probably could be a time where markets could reverse on or before, not on the day specifically, is because that will drive a lot of macroeconomic policies. It will drive the entire fiscal policy of the government. Monetary policy of the RBI will also be governed by what the government is likely to announce during the budget, and therefore it actually is a decisive event from the point of view of certain policy outcomes that are expected to play out over the next 2-3 years, and which is why I think it could probably be an important event. And a true trend reversal, if at all, will happen in or around at that point of time. So I think from a trader's point of view, in the small and mid cap space, as you have rightly said, there is no trade. There is, if you are there, it's going through a correction, you would probably wait for the entire correction to be over. Most of the price correction is over. At best, there may be a smaller time correction that may continue to have. And once we have virtual certainty that that is over, you probably go in and actually make a trade. From a large cap point of view, from a NIFTY index point of view, it appears to be that we are in a corrective phase, and therefore the market is a sell on rise. The market is every rise towards 11,800 should be sold into, with 11,900 on closing basis being a decisive stop. If the market breaks above 11,900, then probably yes, there could be. But otherwise, I think there is highly likely.
So when NDA comes 350 plus, then that could be.
Then that could be correct. So that's how a trader should probably play. But if we look at it from an investor perspective, there is a saying that India actually does well irrespective of the market, irrespective of the government. Unlike other countries where you need government support for companies and businesses to do well, Indian companies will do well irrespective of the BJP, Congress, or anybody else being at the center. So it is fair to say that from a sectoral point of view, sectors like tech, consumption, financialization of savings, and businesses alike to that, and businesses playing out those trends are likely to be unaffected, irrespective of whoever comes in. So if I was to specifically ask you, which are the names that you believe will do well in these three spaces, and if you think that there is any other sector that an investor should look at, because clearly if this is a correction, it's a great time for an investor to build a shopping list.
Absolutely.
And go out and buy businesses which are relatively fairly valued. So what would you suggest for somebody to buy in tech or consumption or financialization, or to play out that as a theme?
Correct. So in consumption, we have a bigger shopping list because that is how India is going to benefit in next 10-15 years. So Godrej consumer product has really corrected well, and valuations are reasonable. Probably this is available at around 40 times price to earning FY 2021. So I think that because valuations are really reasonable, I think this is a great stock for investors to really punch in. And all the stocks that we are going to discuss, irrespective of whichever government comes in, will be a great portfolio from 3 to 5 years perspective. So then the second stock is Page Industries. Page Industries too has also corrected from its recent highs. because of one bad quarter. But still, we think that the stock has got great. The moats are very powerful. The brands are great, and company has its potential intact in terms of generating free cash flows. The third stock would be Akzo India. So Akzo India has also corrected from time-wise as a decent correction, and the story is great. Paint is a great industry, and that this stock too will outperform markets in next 3 to 5 years. Bare crop science, I think government focus is there for agriculture, and Bayer has done nothing for 3 to 4 years. It has done a beautiful time correction, and it's a great stock, multinational company. I think this stock will also outperform in next 3 to 5 years. In technology, we have NIIT Technology. So because of recent open offer, the stock is consolidating. But given the private equity investors' track record, those who are buying this company, I think the stock has got great potential. The international clientele will now get opportunity. NIIT Tech will get the opportunity to get businesses from private equity investors, international clients. So I think visibility is very, very clear in NIIT Tech. And financialization. So in this we have CDSL and HDFC Life. So CDSL is a great cash generating machine in terms of the penetration of DMAT is around 3 to 4%, and we have got a huge run up. So this is a constant free cash flow generating business, and has got great potential. Valuations are also currently reasonable, around 20 times price to earning. And HDFC Life. So because Standard had was in the divesting mode, the stock has corrected. But as a business, I think this is a great business. Insurance is still under penetrated in India, and in next 10-15 years, I think great wealth will be created in this stock. So these 7 stocks are really great. We will also give out a small note on our stock note app, businesses that will be unaffected, whichever government comes to power. So this is what our thought on individual stocks is.
Okay. So I think to sum up and as closing thoughts, if you're a compulsive trader, you want to trade the election outcome, then the best time to trade is position yourself on Fridays to either buy an index put or buy an index call, depending on who you are rooting for to win and sit on the Indian throne. If you are a trader in the small cap and mid cap space, there is currently still no clear trend that's playing out. Once the correction is over, once we believe that there is actually a resumption of uptrend that begins, that's when you actually go out and buy small and mid caps. And to reiterate Mr. Mehta's shopping list, we have 7 names where you could use every dip to buy from an investment point of view. So investors can look at buying it during this corrective phase during the elections, and probably hold until the next election. And to just sum up these 7 names, these are Godrej Consumer Product, Page Industries, Akzo India, NIIT Tech, Bayer Crop, CDSL, and HDFC Life.
Yeah.
So all the best to all traders and investors who are hoping for a outcome in their favor. In any case, let's hope that whatever is best for the country has elected wisely, and that's what happens in the interest of our nation and economy. Thank you very much.